name is LindaSmarzik. I'm with Austin Community College District. My role is Dean of Computer Studies and Advanced Technology. And I've been involved with competency-based education for about three and a half years now. It started with the Department of Labor TACT grant, in which we were the recipient along with Sinclair Community College and Broward Community College. We were able to take this award that was given to us and apply it to distance learning competency-based education in the area of computer programming. Competency-based education is important for a number of reasons. The foremost one is it's attracting a new demographic. This demographic is about 36, 37 years old, and this is a very busy population. The majority of them actually have a job. Many of them are already degreed, but they're wanting to re-career or career up. So that is allowing this very busy population to be able to take distance learning, to be able to move through as quickly as they need to move through their competencies, and if they're able to finish a course that is a 16-week course and they're able to finish it in 4 weeks and prove through the assessment that they're competent in this particular arena, this is fit for this demographic. We're now trying to move competency-based education into other demographics. So for instance, a demographic, something that we call Career Expressway. We're trying to move this to a demographic that is actually underserved, and they are younger. They're about 28 years old, and they have some college, but they don't have a degree or certificate. So now we're trying to move this competency-based education, not so much as distance learning, because the younger a student is, the harder it is for he or she to be able to work through distance learning, which is what our data shows us. But how can we use this population and be able to have them move into something called our accelerators, 600 computer emporium, where the students then can take the coursework and they have a tutor who's very close to them, who actually can work with them, and they actually are somewhat in a classroom, but not exactly. Finally, we're moving this into something that's called Women in IT, and Women in IT, these students, because the demographic here is about 24% of women are in computer science. We're now using this competency-based education to bring more women into the area of computer science. The question of how do you start a CBE program is actually an excellent question. It's different from every college, please know that. But what has been true for us is that we had to start out with a strong team. As myself, department chair, Mary Coles of computer science, and an adjunct faculty member who had been with us for a number of years and was very interested in also helping students find jobs. We had to meet every week. Every week we had to build a giant timeline, a giant list of tasks to do. Now this seems very simple, but it wasn't. It took up at about 85% of my time for the first probably 8 months or so. So to build this program, you have to have somebody who's really a strong project manager, and then grow your team. So from there, once the team started to grow, meaning we were able to get a director, then we were able to get a multimedia specialist, and we're able to get an instructional designer. Once you grow your team, we had to have a student support specialist, somebody for recruiting and helping in jobs. Once you grow your team, then what happens is that you become more of a background person, but you're also helping to guide it. To be able to plan this, you have to have strong people and know each person is very important in this. They are each an important cog in this wheel of being able to make CBE work. You have to be able to have faculty buy-in, which I know we're going to talk about in a minute, but you have to have faculty who are very interested in actually taking on CBE. And you have to understand that even though CBE in general is not new, there's nothing new about it, the concept of using competency-based education in the parameters of distance learning, sometimes hybrid, and even in the classroom, and being able to use it in the way it's evolved into actually is new and different. So strong team, And then after that, make sure you have faculty buy-in, make sure you meet every week, make sure you have a strong cheerleader that can be the segue, a strong administrator that can be the segue between upper administration and then faculty. And then make sure you present your work to upper administration. Make sure you present constantly to conferences so that other people know what you're doing. Faculty buy-in is actually a question that comes up whenever I present constantly. We were working with WGU, Western Governors University, and they were really good. They were like our mentors, so to speak. They were very good about coming in 4 different times and working with us on full day workshops. So first we had them come in and talk with us about CBE in general. Then they came in and spoke about assessments. Then they came in and spoke about student services. So to be able to have first a general overview picture and know that faculty are not going to be able to bite down on the whole concept immediately unless they've been exposed to it and they're interested in it. So being able to work with faculty in workshops and work with the faculty who are interested, who are very interested first, and know that you're going to have your early adopters, and then there are going to be other faculty who are somewhat interested, and then you're going to have faculty who are just never going to be interested in CBE. So, and that's okay. That's just the norm for any project you take on. You have to have a strong department chair, is what we did, and the department chair was also very good about parsing information. She let the faculty know, we're applying for this grant. We haven't heard from the grant yet. During her meetings, we haven't heard from the grant yet. Hey, we received the grant. Hey, who of you are interested? By the way, there's a little bit of money involved with the building of each CBE course. So from that parsing of information, knowing that there's some money involved, the money definitely helps, and then being able to train them, make sure they have enough input to know what it is they're getting themselves into, actually created not only faculty buy-in for us, but towards the end of the program, faculty became so enthusiastic. They ended up changing their current courses to CBE as opposed to keeping their courses the way they were structured before. The student support systems, a student support specialist first. In the beginning we thought, oh, we don't need a student support specialist. And we were warned a couple of times, not warned, that's a strong word. We were advised a couple of times that you're really going to need this particular person. And so quickly we found out not only did we need a student support specialist, we actually are coming to see we need several. But right now we have one, and this particular person, let's just say the makeup of this person, not only does she understand the program, she's going through the program, she acts somewhat as an advisor to the students, but she's able to take them through. Let's face it, getting through a system such as a college can be very complicated, from registration to registering for the courses to getting what to expect in the courses. So this student support specialist is actually an anchor point for them, an anchor advisor, where the students know, I'm in trouble. I just need to go to this particular person and can talk with them about this. It's imperative that you have somebody who acts in this manner. Now, what we're trying to do with the college is build on these student support specialists, which is exciting to us because they'll be, rather than a general advisor, which we have many general advisors who have to advise all of the college, all of students, all of the college, they will now have areas that are specialized just to them, where they'll learn about those particular areas, and then they become somewhat student support specialists for a niche. WGU uses a model where there's a coach and then there's a student support specialist. Simply because of funding, we realized that we needed to be able to have one person take on both roles. And so for the student support specialist, she plays a double role. And her double role is that she gets them into the program, she advises them, but then she acts throughout their career as a coach, not as a faculty coach, but as a coach where she's saying, hey, you have 3 more courses to take. You're very close to graduation. Can you in turn apply for graduation? So that's how she acts as a coach. Now, there are other coaches where there are coaches who actually help, where there are not any faculty with other colleges, but they act as a coach where the student is confused about a certain particular area in their curriculum. And then in that curriculum and in that area, the coach works with them to be able to help them through that particular issue. And that's a little bit of the difference between a true coach and then what our student support specialist does. To be able to talk about accreditation and in Texas, it's Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, and Texas is Southern Association of Colleges and Schools. And these are our regulatory boards. And with that, what you have to do immediately is contact your accrediting agency and say, this is what we're about to do. We are looking at competency-based education. Because our CBE courses are still credit-based, and not direct assessment, we were fine. Our Southern Association of Colleges and Schools said, you're fine, keep marching forward. In terms of Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, again, the same results happened for us. We met with them, we spoke with them, we let them know what we're trying to do, and they too said, oh, it's credit-based, we don't have a problem with this. The only thing they needed to do on their end was be able to measure that it's a CBE course as opposed to a regular distance learning course or a regular in-classroom class course. The difference between credit-based, competency-based education and direct assessment competency-based education, with CBE we're credit-based. There are 3 credit hours for a course, so be it. A student can move through at his or her own pace. When you are talking about direct assessment now strips away the credit hour. And the federal government has done a really nice job of having direct assessment experiments for the different colleges. We made a choice to actually not go the direction at this point of direct assessment simply because now even more of the back-end systems would have to be broken. What do you do with financial aid? All of that would have to be by hand. So one of the concepts behind direct assessments is that a student, when he or she finishes a competency, let's say they finish competencies 1 and 2, then boom, they receive a check from financial aid. They finish competencies 3 and 4. Boom, they get a check. So all of this is done by hand, and we knew that the system is overwhelmed with us introducing CBE to begin with, so we made a choice to actually wait on that particular one. Many, many more differences, but that is one of the basic ones for us. So there's the front end, which we were just been talking about. So the front is building the curriculum, recruiting the students, the marketing, being able to get the students jobs. That's the front end. Even though it took us a tremendous amount of work to pull all this off, let me tell you, that's the easy part. The more difficult part, where there are many more challenges, is what I call the back end. The back end, such as registration. Less a problem for us right now is financial aid, because most of our students are paying for their coursework. But we talk about registration, financial aid. How do you pay faculty? How do you load faculty into their assignments? So these are just a few of the many issues that happen in this back end. One of the things for us, for registration, you can imagine we have in our, we offer a 16-week, a 12-week, and an 8-week course. That is the same course that is in CBE. So a student can accelerate through and pick any one of these options. So with this, can you imagine, we've built 41 courses, can you imagine a student having to wade through 41 courses times 3 in a schedule Right now, our student support specialist is spending an inordinate amount of time being able to help the student simply register. So this system needs to be tweaked. And to say tweaked is actually a soft word. We actually know it needs to be rebuilt. Imagine that a student then actually applies instead for, not applies, but actually comes in, and rather there being one course he or she is taking, all the courses are just placed in one certificate, and the student comes through and actually takes one course, they're finished with that course, they take the next course, they're finished with that course, and then they move into yet the third course. With this, what will happen is that the student is seamlessly moving through, and they just pick up where they left off the next semester. Now, with this, to be able to build this and create this, you would think that I was building Mount Rushmore. This is something that we're working on, and we will work on it and continue to work on it. Another area in terms of financial aid, I'd mentioned earlier that it's a little bit easier for us, but let's talk about faculty loading. So faculty loading, in terms of a student, we have makes in our classes. So for instance, 16 students is what creates what creates a course to be able to make, meaning that class can actually be taught, 14 to 16. And with this, if they're less, then suddenly our department chair has to start combining courses. So maybe they're 3 in one course, 6 in another course, 4 in another course. So all of a sudden these courses have to be combined. Well, I will tell you, because of the complexity of this combining, we accidentally overpaid a faculty member about $9,000 a couple of semesters ago. We don't want that problem. So instead, what can we do to pay faculty by student? Point something LEH per student as opposed to by course. That is another issue we're looking into and working on. There are many more. Give me a call. I can tell you the more challenges that are happening. The future of CBE is very interesting because if I watched some of the other universities, Southern New Hampshire, WGU, several others, where they've been able to move out of being more local, and they've been able to, with the distance learning competency-based education, be able to become more nationwide, if not even international. I'm a big believer in this. I'm a big believer in understanding that funding is limited for the collegiate systems, depending on what state you're in. I can tell you here in Texas, it's a challenge for us to continue with state funding. We have some, but it's been cut somewhat in the past few years. So for us to think out of the box in terms of thinking that we're local, even though we are a local community college, to be able to move into the idea of CBE being national or international makes for suddenly a nice funding stream. In terms of competency-based education, is it for everyone? The one thing to recognize is that some students want and need to accelerate. Okay, that's one group of students who are able to move through a system, move through a course really quick. What CBE does, though, is it organizes a faculty member's coursework in such a way to where it may not align with the textbook, but it aligns CBE, it aligns these competencies in such a way to where a student is going to be able to go out into the workforce and be able to understand the competency that the career is calling for. Now, is this good for government? Is this good for English? I'm not on that side of the house, so I can't answer you at this time. I don't know the answer for that, but it would be very interesting to find out if it could be possible. Competency-based education, I do believe, done well, done right, can make a college within a college, and I believe, let's take for instance something like surveying. That happens to be one of the little programs in my area. I get call after call after call about, can we actually do this distance learning? Can this be online? Can this be faster? Well, several of the courses can be online. They don't have to come into the traditional seat time, 16 weeks, and sit there and wait. So again, as our population is moving to a more mobile population, meaning they're using their phones, they're using their iPads, they're using their laptops, we have to respond to that and recognize that the student is a student no longer wants to sit in a 16-week course. Now, will they take the full 16 weeks to take a course? It could be. That would be fine. But that would be that particular student's choice to do that. If you're building a CBE program in the workforce arena, and some of the colleges already have career centers. We don't have a career center here. So for us, we had to build alliances with, we have about 140, maybe 150 industry specialists in the area of computer information technology. They have agreed to at least interview our students. Some of them agree to actually look at our competencies, and they've agreed to work with some of the faculty to say, yes, this competency aligns with what we actually need in the industry. If you do not have the input of industry with things like competencies and helping these students actually come into different jobs, you're cutting yourself a little bit short. So in our mind, this is probably the most important aspect of our particular program, our accelerated program or trainer program, although it's not really part of traditional CBE per se. For us, the student knowing that there are 140, 150 industry partners who are on this other side actually waiting for them to apply or talk with them, that is the cherry on the ice cream sundae, because they actually realize that they have a potential to become employed. You're going to start a CBE program. There are going to be challenges. That's a given. One of the challenges right off the bat is going to be able to build a team that's strong enough that understands what CBE is, to then spread that understanding out to not only yourself, but to a department chair, to faculty, to get them interested. So to understand it's just going to be 1, 2, maybe 3 of you in the beginning, and to let it build, let it organically build. If you're trying to institute this as a college as a whole, which I've seen a number of institutions trying to do this, that's going to take upper administration building a plan, understanding what needs to be done with CBE in general, and again, you're going to need a very strong leader to be able to build this. You need a strong team. That's one of the challenges, which is funding. Really, to have our funding for our team was probably about $500,000 a year, somewhere give or take, 100,000. But and that's actually a chunk of change to actually have to deal with year after year. What we really enjoy is that the institution as a whole here at ACC has been pleased with the results of our APT program, and being pleased with it, they've decided to sustain the actual team. Some of the results at this point, it's doubled our degree and certificate seekers, doubled them within the last year. It has the success rate has gone up 5%. There are more women who are very successful in this particular area than there are men, which we find a challenge because we want more women into this, the CIT area, Computer Information Technology area. We have actually been able to see students who are actually able to move through, re-career, and actually get a job. We have close to 900 students since the inception of this project who are new students to us. We may not have ever seen these students simply because they did not have time to be able to go back to college. These are some of the successes that we've seen with this program. So in terms of being able to sustain a CBE program, for instance, our grant is over. We don't have this funding anymore to pay for this team. What I had to do is actually go work with my my boss and say, look, we don't really want to let the CBE go, do we? And he agreed. And so at this moment, the team exists under me. We're moving out. We're moving out of computer information technology, we've moved into other areas. Visual communication is one. We're moving now into philosophy. They're very interested in CBE. So as word has gotten out about the success of this program, there's starting to be organic interest in this. They're starting to organically want to come to CBE and understand the importance of it. So to be able to sustain this team, again, you have to have somebody who understands CBE, who's running that team, and know that for us, with one instructional designer, one multimedia person, one student success specialist, and one person who's actually placing these students in jobs, on the front end, meaning building courses, we can build about 8 to 10 courses per semester. Realistically, about 8 courses. Then after this, we can build. Then after this, as the team grows, we will be able to grow more courses. So with this and sustaining this, keep in mind that our grant came through so fast. We got the grant, and 8 months later, we had to have 8 courses available for students online in the area of CBE. So we are just now being able to backtrack and build. We built some policy and procedures. Some procedures actually exist, but we find a lot of holes in the procedures. So we are now going back and building very strong policies, procedures. What happens is now this moves out to the rest of the college, which seems backwards. We recognize that, but we were more afraid that we weren't going to meet our deadline. The coursework has been successful as a whole. Now we're learn from that and be able to build what happens for the rest of the college. Student reaction has been actually quite fascinating. So, for instance, I'm going to tell a story. Our president, Dr. Rhodes, was in the airport flying out of Austin to somewhere, and he went to go get a cup of coffee. The young man who gave him copy recognized Dr. Rhodes and said, "You're the president of ACC, are you not?" Dr. Rhodes said, "Yes." And he said, "Are you one of our students?" "Yes. As a matter of fact, I'm in the Accelerated Programmer Training Program. What I want you to know is that while you see me serving you coffee here, a year from now, I will not be serving you coffee." That just warms your heart, knowing that a student sees hope and that a student recognizes that it's not going to take he or she 6 years to get through a 2-year degree, because they're having to come to our collegiate system part-time, because 77% of them, 78% of them take 1 to 2 courses with us per semester. You have a 60 credit hour degree, it's going to take some time to get a 2-year degree. So this student has hope, and that's the part that I am observing of students, is that they see a light at the end of the tunnel rather than the train coming right on to them. One thing that I want you to recognize is that marketing is very different from traditional marketing of the past. So, for instance, we think of marketing as radio, television, film. Education doesn't really have the funding for those particular arenas, those particular routes, be able to get a student to understand what CBE is. So you're going to have to look at a really strong website. You're going to have to go beyond the flyer and the poster. You're going to have to actually go out and talk with your chambers of commerce. You're going to have to do recruitment sessions. And so we work directly with our Chamber of Commerce, and they help promote our program, and in promoting the program, sign students up to come to a recruitment session. So we would have anywhere from 50 to 100 students showing up every few months. These are the different ways to market. You're going to have to really use your social media. We've definitely tapped into it, but we know that you could tap into it quite a bit more. You're going to have to be able to capture those email addresses. So one of the things that we use, that we've been using, is at first the student would come in and they would express interest. We're using this on the Women in IT website. They expressed interest in our program. They sign up through a contact form. This contact form actually then goes to a product that we use called Salesforce. The product then actually the person using it then actually places the student into interested, not qualified, contact in future use. Then we start building the recruitment methods in such a way to where you go back and contact that student. Hey, we're going to have a recruitment session coming up. Are you interested? That, rather than waiting and sitting back and twiddling your thumbs, hoping that you've built it and they will come, that's a thing of the past. So just know that marketing is very different today as it was just even 5 years ago.